Statement posted on his X account on Tuesday, President Ruto praised Ford Foundation's commitment to safeguarding Kenya's democracy. Brandon White reports on the head of state's change of tune.
Mimi nataka niulize watu wa Ford Foundation watuambie hiyo pesa wanatoa ifanye fujo ndio wapate faida gani?
This was President William Ruto's speech back in July this year at the height of the Gen Z protest that were pushing for reforms in the country. 2 months later, the head of state seems to have changed tune on the Ford Foundation, an non-governmental organization based in the United States that he blamed for sponsoring the Gen Z protests in the country. Now, President William Ruto is showering praises to the foundation for its contribution to the growth of the Kenyan democracy. Posting on social media after he held talks with the president of the Ford Foundation, Darren Walker, in New York, Ruto said the foundation is committed to the democratic process in Kenya, saying the country appreciates this commitment. The post reads, and I quote, "Kenya appreciates the Ford Foundation's commitment to safeguarding our democracy and supporting Kenya's calls for reforms in the global economic institutions, climate action, and modern technology regulation." 2 months ago, the head of state called out the foundation, accusing them of undermining Kenya's democracy. Ruto emphasized that his government will not tolerate any form of anarchy and called on the foundation to clarify its role in the protests. He further urged those behind the unrest to step forward and present their alternative views instead of remaining anonymous.
We have no use for anarchy and violence and destruction of property and loss of life. If they are going to sponsor violence, if they are going to sponsor anarchy, we are going to call them out and we are going to tell them they either style up or they leave.
Despite Ruto's allegations, the Ford Foundation denied any involvement in sponsoring protests, asserting its commitment to human rights and social justice initiatives.
The person who writes the speeches, the president, should be fired with immediate effect. Because the president here in Kenya said the Ford Foundation ndio walikuwa wanamwaga pesa mbaya ya watoto wetu kwenda kwa mabarabara. He blamed on the Ford Foundation on the protests. Saa hii tumemuona amekaa vizuri sana huko New York na president wa Ford Foundation. Sasa niambie, hata kama unataka kumwamini rais, unaweza muamini?
This, however, is not the first time President Ruto has gone back on his word. The head of state had also vowed not to work with former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. However, the two came together to form what we are now calling the broad-based government. Brian Amoai, K24, Nairobi.
Kito Governor's fate is now hanging by the thread after members of County Assembly tabled a notice for an impeachment motion against him. The notice of motion was tabled by Sigowet MCA Kito Governor, who is seeking the 47-ward representative's support in the impeachment of Mutai for alleged gross violation of the Constitution, various national and county laws, abuse of office and gross misconduct. Speaker of the County Assembly, Patrick Mutai Cheriot, said the governor will have 7 days to appear at the Assembly to defend against the accusations leveled against him.
2 years tenure, Kericho County Governor Eric Mutai has been, among other issues, accused of overseeing leakage in revenue collection by failing to implement automation of revenue collection systems.
The County Assembly to move the motion for the impeachment of His Excellency Honorable Eric Mutai, the Governor of Kericho County, for number 1, gross violation of the Constitution. Number 2, gross violation of various national and county laws. Number 3.
Sigowet MCA Kito Governor, the mover of the motion, has directly linked the loss of county on-source revenue to Governor Mutai's alleged opulence.
There is a nexus between the disappearance and or the loss of county revenue and the governor's opulent lifestyles since he was elected. Indeed, within 2 years since his election, the governor's wealth has grown exponentially, so much so that he can now afford to contribute up to Kenya shillings 1 million in a single harambe.
According to the tabled motion, the Kericho governor contravened the constitution by launching the Equalizer Kazi Mtaani, a program for youth employment, and rolled out funds without legislation to anchor on and without public participation. Further, the governor has been faulted for allegedly overseeing the misappropriation of funds meant for the 52 victims of the June 30th, 2023 Londiani Road accident.
Of this motion, I confirm to this House that it's true that we have the exhibits as well as the flash discs and the compact disc here with us. His Excellency the Governor, Dr. Eric Kipkoech Mutai, will appear before this House on 2nd October 2024.
The fate of Kericho County Governor now hangs in the balance, with members of the County Assembly expected to vote on a motion to impeach him in 7 days. Rehab Kinuthia, K24 TV.
A 20-year-old woman who has been working as a house help has been arraigned at the Murang'a Law Courts for allegedly stealing goods from her employer. Rose Gathoni is said to have made away with household items and clothes worth an estimated 100,000 shillings. Gathoni appeared before resident magistrate Dorrance Soy, where she denied the charges and was released on a cash bail of 50,000 shillings or an alternative bond of 100,000 shillings.
Katikati mwa tarehe 26 Mei 2024 na tarehe 20 ambao ni ya kumiliki mali ya wizi ambao ni kinyume na sheria.
The accused person is to be released on a cash bail of Kenya shillings 50,000 or a bond of Kenya shillings 100,000.
Bila umekamilisha mashtaka yako, tutatoa statements tarehe 9 mwezi wa Oktoba. Tumeanza kuachiliwa na cash bail ya 50,000 ama bond ya 100,000 na kiwango kama hicho.
The National Committee, comprising of student leaders set to review the status of the implementation of the new university funding model, has been launched after days of public uproar. The various committees are expected to make recommendations on how to address the challenges facing the model after conducting a thorough appraisal of the implementation. Busara Naman with more.
Following an outcry recently raised by several people, including parents and students, on the new higher education funding model, the ministry has officially launched a national committee which will handle the review and the refinement of the funding model and deal with appeals arising from the categorization of students into various eligibility bands.
That the government is always keen to ensure accountability, transparency, and broad-based participation in formulating and refining its policies.
Speaking during the launch, Ogamba said the committee will ensure that all concerns and queries raised by parents, students and other stakeholders are addressed, and that the committees will evaluate the effectiveness of the means testing instrument in ensuring that the categorization of students captures their social-economic realities.
As a ministry, we promise to provide a conducive working environment for the National Committee to deliver on its mandate effectively and efficiently.
Elsewhere, earlier today, Ogamba appeared before the Education Committee where he was grilled over the funding model and other issues facing the education sector.
This year, when the students were supposed to be admitted, letters were issued initially without indicating the household contribution. The letters indicated the costs of the programs, and this led to a lot of confusion.
Ogamba said poor communication, internet access and computer illiteracy are some of the challenges affecting the implementation of the model.
On the students saying that they are not being listened to, this particular model was introduced after the Presidential Working Party received information from all the public, so there was some public participation. But we've also included them in this committee so that now we can listen to them. Most of the student leaders are there.
Concerning the preparation for the enrollment of grade 9 learners next year, Ogamba said the construction of 16,000 classrooms in the country has already started and that they'll be completed by January next year.
7,500 classrooms. The process has already started. Over 4 billion, I think 4.3. Yes, 4.3 billion was released yesterday to start the construction.
And here is what the CS also had to say on assessment and placement.
At grade 9, we are going to have both levels of assessment. We are going to have a summative assessment, which will take care of 60% of what a student will be assessed on. And 40% of what the student will be assessed on will be on formative.
And to assure safety in schools following the tragic fire incident at Hillside and Arusha School in Nyeri County, frequent inspections will be held by officials from the Ministry of Education across the country. Busara Naman, K24 TV.
Pastor Ezekiel Odero of Kifs New Life Prayer Center and Church has suffered a blow after the Court of Appeal declined to suspend a decision that would see it deregistered. The decision has effectively halted Odero's efforts to have his church operating license reinstated following its cancellation last year due to non-compliance. It is a decision that has attracted mixed reactions from his followers. Robbie Omondi with the details.
The appellate court, in a ruling delivered by Justice Daniel Musinga, Kathurima Minoti and M. Gashoka, has dismissed Pastor Ezekiel Odero's application to have his church's operation license reinstated, emphasizing that Odero and his church officials had not exhausted the available dispute resolution mechanisms before resorting to legal action.
Kama iko na uitumi, naomba unisaidie nayo.
The case against Pastor Ezekiel Odero of Kifs New Life Prayer Center and Church stems from a move by the Registrar of Societies to cancel NPCC's license after it allegedly failed to file its annual returns by the required deadline on April 13, 2023.
All these properties and all these accounts belong to the Christians.
The appellate judges agreed with the Registrar of Societies that Odero's church should have first appealed the decision to the Cabinet Secretary responsible. If unsatisfied with the CS's decision, they would then have had the option to lodge a second appeal with the High Court. It is a decision that has elicited reactions from Kenyans who say that the move is unfair, considering that there are many churches operating without licenses.
Hajahusika kamwe na mambo zisizoambatana na maadili mema ya madhehebu.
Inafaa ibada iwe huru, kanisa iwe huru, na wacha Mungu haongose. Lakini tukiweka hii mambo, tusimamishe kanisa, tuweke limit, haitatupeleka mahali.
Mimi nalani majudges wale waliamua wakiungana na state wazibe makanisa wasiendelee kuhubiri neno. Mimi nasema la hasha. Lazima hao majudges wa reskind warudishe nyuma na Odero apatiwe kibali yake aendelee kuhubiri injili.
Robbie Omondi, K24.
Well, we take another break right here on K24 Evening Edition. We'll be back with more in a short while.
Back to the future. The future is simulate. Bet smarter. Win faster now. Be a winner. More at Bet.